What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for a late night Tottenham update for you guys today. We've got Dave from the Irish Hotspur. How are we doing today, Dave?
Yeah, I'm all good. Absolutely buzzing to be here, Benji. Thank you for having me on this Tottenham update. Plenty to get through.
Yeah, plenty to get through as well. I mean, we'll get your thoughts on Manor Solomon towards the end of the video, but let's start off talking about sick note, which is Ryan Sessegnon injured once again, as Sammy Mockbell says that Tottenham defender Ryan Sessegnon has undergone hamstring surgery after suffering a reoccurrence injury. Ryan will miss Tottenham's start to the season with his duration of sidelines likely to keep him out until after the transfer window. No decision had been made on Sessegnon's future, but a host of clubs were moving into the position to strike if Tottenham were willing to let him go. A number of European teams, including Benfica and Marseille, had shown interest, and we've got an official statement on the Tottenham website as well, which said that Ryan Sessegnon has undergone surgery to his left hamstring following an injury sustained in pre-season training. Having previously suffered with the hamstring, it is anticipated that the surgery following this injury will provide a permanent solution to the problem. Ryan will not be available for the upcoming pre-season tour, but will be continued to be closely monitored by our medical team to determine whether he can return to training. I mean, I don't know what's worse. Is it that he's being closely monitored by the medical staff, or that they think that this is going to be end to the injury problems after this? I mean, the only kind of permanent solution I can see to Ryan Sessegnon is to rip up his contract probably and let him find a new club, because he's not going to pass no medicals in this transfer window, that's for sure. So this is going to hold us back, isn't it?
It's going to hold us back, Ben, but I think we have to be resigned that this guy's probably going to be here coming for this season. Look, I'm harsh, but after an injury, I'm not sure I feel like we should rip up his contract. I just think we're going to be resigned to having him here for another season. But look, he fits in on the homegrown registration and stuff like that, so it might actually suit the club to sort of keep him around, regardless of how I feel about him. But look, I'm not sure it's going to alleviate the injuries. I know they say it does, but this guy's had these injuries for years now, and it's held him back. He's not really offering anything to Tottenham. I would love to be done with him, but I think ripping up his contract at this time, this moment in time, is a bit harsh. But then again, it's what Tottenham need to do. You know, we have to start learning to be ruthless. We can't be sentimental, but it's just a shame. You know, it's finally when it looks like he's going, he's got an injury, and now it looks like he's going to be here, because I don't really see any club taking the punt, trying to get a deal on him, while he's injured. And I'm not sure whether he can pass a medical while he's injured either. So, I mean, it screws us, really.
Yeah, look, you're right. In terms of ripping up his contract, it's harsh, but maybe that's not the right thing I was trying to say. Maybe the right thing I'm trying to say is that if Spurs have no plans to use him, and with the likes of, I know you're not going to like it, but Ben Davies, who could potentially play there. You've also got Destiny Udogie coming in. You've also got Mickey van der Ven. If we sign him, he can also fill in at left back with the speed that he has. So you've got other players that can fill in there. So if there's no plans to use him, surely just letting him go on a free to find another club is maybe the best course of action, because no one's going to take a punt on him with money now after this injury problem.
Yeah, no, I actually see that point. I mean, look, if I was Sessegnon in his position anyway, knowing that there's sort of no future here for me, I'd be asking the club to maybe do something like that, because it's mutual or sort of beneficial. But look, you know, there is a chance that he might come back from it early. I'm not saying he will. Sometimes people can, if he can get back early, and I'm sure the determination will be there on his part in order to try and get that move, because I'm sure if he gets back fit and he gets bought, he'll get higher wages, etc., rather than signing somewhere on a free contract where they're taking a punt on him because of his injuries. So, look, I'm sure maybe the club and maybe the players' agents can maybe sort something out like that, so we can just end this saga for Tottenham Hotspur and for Ryan Sessegnon. Unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. But let's move on and let's talk about another player who we brought in that same transfer window. That is Giovanni Lo Celso. Matti Moretto says that Aston Villa and Napoli are interested in signing Giovanni Lo Celso. Real Betis could not make a sufficient offer for him. And Javi Miguel is saying that Lo Celso of Tottenham is one of the signings that Javi of Barcelona has requested. So some big clubs in there for Giovanni Lo Celso.
Yeah, look, when you've got an attacking player, sort of, you're always going to have clubs that are always going to have that interest in a guy. And you're always going to have a manager that when it hasn't worked out at one club, they're always going to feel like they can be the one to get the next best out of the guy. But look, when it comes to Lo Celso, I have no problems parting with him because he just doesn't have love for the game at Tottenham. You can see that in his time here. You know, when he left, there was a lot of reports that he wasn't well liked around the place because of how he behaved and stuff like that. So for me, even if he does end up at Barcelona, I don't care. You know, I care what they do at Tottenham Hotspur, and it's not a lot for what we paid. So good riddance. Another one that should have been gone a long time ago, in my opinion.
Yeah, look, he's been another one as well that's had a season, a time at Tottenham ravaged by injury. We just can't seem to get him consistently fit. And it's frustrating because I actually think Giovanni Lo Celso at one time for Tottenham when Jose Mourinho was here was providing for us week in, week out. And actually, when we had all those injuries, when Kane, Son, and remember that time when everyone was injured, he was the one that was actually showing passion for the shirt and providing for us consistently on the football pitch. But since then, he has just done absolutely nothing in a Spurs shirt. So if we can get any sort of money from the likes of Aston Villa, Napoli, or Barcelona, I suggest that Tottenham do snap off their hands. And I don't think he'll be going on the tour as well with this kind of interest in for him. But look, he's played under Unai Emery before at Villarreal. So I think Villa might be a good shout for him.
Yeah, look, it's a manager that he's familiar with, and, he probably know how to get the best out of him. But look, that time under Mourinho was only a brief period where he sort of really stepped up and showed us what he was capable of. But look, we need to rid out of these guys. We've got to start sending out the message that if you're coming, and back Andrew's what Andrew's been saying in the press conference, if you're coming to Tottenham, you're coming here to win. No longer are you here to take wages, piss about. But then I also question sometimes, at times, Lo Celso's sort of interest in the game. I remember against Man United, and I cannot forget this. Son was running through, and it was a simple ball with the inside of his foot. And all he had to do was play it into Son's path. But he played it with the outside of his foot and ended up playing it away from Sonny. And Son had to stop that run and come back. And at times like that, when we're chasing games, it's just do the basics and do it well. And I just question maybe his love for the game at Tottenham at times as well. So another one that we've overpaid for, didn't get enough out of, and another one that just has to go. No sentiment towards him.
But I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. But also, I've seen kind of things that I don't like from maybe Spurs players that have gone on to make a big name for themselves. Like I always bring it back to someone like Jan Vertonghen. When he was under AVB, we saw things from Jan Vertonghen that we didn't like, slouching on the side in the tunnel at Liverpool, maybe not giving his all on the football pitch at certain times. But he went on to be an absolute legend for the club because of how good he was and the passion that he did end up showing when Pochettino came and he got a good partner next to him. So, I mean, players like Giovanni Lo Celso clearly have ability, clearly have talent. And the teams that they have been in, Tottenham, have not been good enough. And I think the structure at Tottenham have been completely wrong. So do you think that maybe there is an argument to say that with an attacking manager, with with a good team around him and a good mentality around him, that he could improve?
Look, I don't think so, Ben. I think he's sort of coming out at the level that he's going to sort of be at for the rest of his career, where you're going to get them inconsistencies. I think he's always going to sort of pick up them injuries as well. Look, when Jan Vertonghen, he never got loaned out. That's the difference. Lo Celso's already been loaned out because it hasn't worked out at Tottenham. Yeah. And he's still here. But look, a lot of these players, Lo Celso, you could argue maybe Ndombele, they have been victims of circumstances, right? You're bringing in creative attack and sort of on the front foot thinking footballers, but then you're bringing in the most defensive-minded managers in the game. And they require a complete different sort of midfielder that's more disciplined, that wants to get stuck in, move side to side, this, that, and the other. And all these guys want is the ball to play. So there has been a bit of that. But I'm one of these, Ben. There's been no excuses for Harry Kane and Son. Regardless of what manager's been here, they have always performed to their optimum level. And as fans, that's all we ask for, especially with ticket prices going up now. I think we should demand it even more. And that's all we ever want. And some of these guys, they've just thrown in the towel at the first hurdle, and I cannot forgive it.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, I totally agree with you. And if you ask me, do I want Giovanni Lo Celso to stay? No. The answer is clearly no. And we need to find another club for him. And I think with the caliber of clubs that are coming in, I think it's only good news because these are the clubs that can probably put down a little bit of money so we can go and spend it on some other targets. But let's move on. Let's talk about Harry Kane now. I think we might have a bit of a big discussion here as Sammy Mockwell says that despite major interest from Bayern Munich, Harry Kane will leave the ball in Tottenham's court when he meets new manager Ange Postecoglou for the first time. He will tell Ange Postecoglou he's open to all options when they meet for talks. Matt Law says that it's understood that Kane is looking forward to meeting Postecoglou for the first time tomorrow and will make it clear that he remains open-minded over his future. That will place the emphasis on Postecoglou to convince Kane that he can quickly get Tottenham into the European places and challenge for success. And this is where it gets a bit weird, where L'Equipe are saying Bayern are readying a third bid for Harry Kane, which should reach 100 million euros. And Julian Lorenz saying that Kane's brother and agent Charlie Kane has been in constant contact with Bayern Munich's hierarchy about a potential transfer. So how do you see this one playing out?
I think we're keeping Harry Kane, if you want me to be brutally honest. Look, Bayern Munich
keeping him with a contract or just keeping him for one more season?
No, I think we can sign him down to a new contract. Look, I've always maintained, all the argument has always been, if you sell him if you can't get him to commit. But I've always maintained, why can't the argument be, what can Tottenham Hotspur do this summer in order to get the guy to commit to a new contract? Now, everything we're hearing about Charlie Kane and these potential meetings, they're all coming from the buying club side. Now, some would say no smoke without fire, which I understand. And there was a supposed meeting that took place back in May. Well, back in May, we were on a third manager. The whole team had absolutely quit. I mean, any one of us would have maybe, well, Barrow's fans, but any one of them players was probably looking at potentially getting out of here in the summer, this, that, and the other. So I don't blame if maybe Kane's thinking back then in May, if that meeting did happen. But Kane, if you actually go off what Harry Kane has actually said, his quotes that's come from his mouth over the time of being here, he's always spoke about wanting to win trophies at Tottenham. He's always mentioned that throughout. He's been consistent with that. And then when you look back at what he said at the end of the season, that we lost values and stuff like that we had under Pochettino, again, he's referencing a time where we were competing on all fronts for all trophies. And that's all Harry Kane wants to get back to. And if we can provide that this summer in terms of transfers, which we all know we need, I think you can persuade Harry Kane to sign on that dotted line, especially with the way Andrew's talking about on the front foot football. If Kane commits, let's get into the training ground and let's make, Tottenham successful. All things that if I was Harry Kane, I would want to hear. And, he'll play to Harry Kane's tune. So for me, I actually think there is a chance we can get him to commit.
I really hope you're right, man. But I mean, how many managers are going to have to try and win him over and get him to back the cause? You're starting with Jose Mourinho to Nuno to Antonio Conte, now Ange Postecoglou. And, if you want to talk about the words that have actually come out of Harry Kane's mouth, I mean, towards the end of the Pochettino reign, he was having that interview with Thierry Henry, wasn't he? And he said, if Spurs hadn't won a trophy in the next 3-4 years or whatever it may be, I might need to start looking at my options and seeing where I can go and win a trophy. And I don't know if that's what the exact quotes he said, but it was along those lines. And, we're well past that time now where he said that he could consider his options. So as much as I want to sit here and say that I would love Harry Kane to sign a contract, because I would love Harry Kane to sign a contract, I just can't see that happening now. The only time I can see that happening is if Spurs are on a really big upward trajectory towards like maybe January, maybe towards the back end of next season. And can Spurs run that risk to lose Harry Kane for free?
Look, I think it's a big risk to run, but at the end of the day, the club put themselves in that position, And look, if you want my honest opinion, I think Daniel Levy keeps him and tries to take the gamble that Harry Kane follows us to Champions League football under Ange Postecoglou, because I think it's 5 spots that are open now, right? Yeah. And then if you get Champions League, that automatically brings you in a good amount of revenue, so you sort of make up that revenue that you might lose with Harry Kane. But Ben, when you look at his latest quotes back in January, on the build-up to that Preston game, when he was about to break the all-time goal-scoring record, he did come out and say then that he still wants to win trophies with Tottenham. And if you're Harry Kane now, right, you're 29, it's your last big contract. You've been let down by the club before by sort of empty promises, this, that, and the other. He's in a position now where he can sort of, leverage it to get the club to do the business, put the players in and around him to go on and win. If he signs that deal now, or if he signed it earlier, would the club be in as much as a rush to try and sort of get these issues sorted out? Because the club knows what's coming down the line once Harry Kane leaves. They know how angry fans are going to be about the situation. Yes, they're going to understand it, but they're still going to have that anger for being in this position in the first place. And they know that. The club also know, without Harry Kane, you're going to find it hard to get the goals. People think Richarlison and others may make up the difference. It's not going to be the case. Not the goals that he scores at that rate. So, look, I don't think Daniel Levy has any intentions of selling to Bayern Munich anyway, for sure. I do think if Real Madrid come in, I think he goes. David Beckham won all around him at Man United. He still left and went. That's the lower Real Madrid. But I'd also argue, Ben, but people make this argument he needs to leave to win trophies, which I understand. But if he won a Bundesliga title, does that make him any more respected over there in England in the conversation?
I don't think it does, but he would have more of a chance to go and win the Champions League if he goes to Bayern Munich.
Fair point, but there's no guarantee with Bayern Munich that he's going to win it either.
Of course. I don't think there's a guarantee at any club that you go and win the Champions League. But I think that if you go to Bayern Munich with Harry Kane, come on, that has a big chance of winning the Champions League, in my opinion.
Yeah, they wouldn't be too far off it. But look, there's a lot of things to consider here. You know, he's building a house for his retirement. Does he want to uproot his family and bring it over to Bayern Munich? A very family-oriented man. This, that, and the other. So, you know, look, let's wait and see how it pans out. But even if they come back with 100 million bid, they know what's going to happen. It's going to be batted way back out of here, you know, to getting teams with the ashes that's taken place over the last few weeks. But because Daniel Levy has already said, I want 120 million. And guess what? If they come back with 110, he'll put it up to 140 million. He's not selling to Bayern Munich. He's already promised he's going to make them bleed. And I hope he does.
Yeah. And to be honest, look, my personal opinion is that if a bid comes close to 100 million, if this bid does come for 100 million pounds, I think Spurs should strongly consider it. I really do, because I just can't see Harry Kane signing. I just can't see us fast tracking the way where Harry Kane wants us to be in the next 6 to 7 months. And I think for him to go on a free to one of our English rivals will just absolutely kill me. To see him playing against us in the Premier League, in that red top of Man United, in that blue top of Man City, whoever it may be, dare I say it, under Pochettino as well, with that snake. I mean, that would be literally my worst hell in terms of Harry Kane and where it could go. So as much as I want to see him sign that on that dotted line, and as much as he says he wants to win trophies at Tottenham, which I believe that, I completely believe that, I just don't know how possible that is and how possible it is to prove to him over the next 6 or 7 months.
Look, I understand it, Ben. And look, I fully understand if 100 million comes in with 1 year left on the contract, everyone has sort of a big decision to make, right? It is one you sort of have to sit around the table and consider. However, if you want to give Ange the best possibility to get up and running and implement his style and everything else into Tottenham Hotspur, well, it's better off doing it with Kane, and you've more chance of doing it with Harry Kane than without Harry Kane. And look, all I will say is, we all sit here and moan and cry when we don't get world-class players. And rightly so, every fan of every club wants world-class players. But we as Spurs fans, and especially the board, should not be so quick to cave into all these bigger clubs all the time. If we want to reach them and match their ambition, at some stage we have to keep these guys and build around them. Now, it's what we should have done with Kane's son 3-4 years ago. We didn't. We've paid the price for it. We go into every window not knowing Kane's future. But there's still a chance. And as Spurs fans and as a football club, we should not be so quick to throw that towel in all the time and say, take him. We shouldn't. At some stage, we should try and stand our ground and try and make something happen. There's still time. Still time. I'm not giving up hope.
But Dave, do you not think that we should be dealing with it more in maybe a similar way to PSG are dealing with the Mbappe situation? Because he's also got a year left in his contract. He says, look, it's a bit different because he's come out and said he's not signing a contract. But they've said to him, either sign a contract or let us sell you. So, I mean, shouldn't it be the same situation with us and Harry Kane?
Well, if Harry Kane comes out and says, sell me, well, then it's an entire different conversation altogether, because you've got a player that doesn't want to be here. But at the minute, we haven't heard from Harry Kane at all. But people are already making assumptions that the guy doesn't want to be here. Well, we don't know that. We haven't heard that. You know, we haven't heard that come from his mouth. So it's a different situation. If Harry Kane had come out and make his intentions clear, different conversation altogether. Some would say maybe you take his silence as in making his intentions clear. Some would say that he came out against Man City, made the intentions clear. He wasn't let go. Look what sort of prevailed since. It took him a lot to sort of get fans back on side. So I can understand it from all angles. I'm just saying, let's just stop, throwing in the towel so easily, because we're so used to it, so resigned to all of our good things at Tottenham, all of our joy be taken away from us. But at some point that has to change. Why can't we make this a start?
The thing is, I agree. I would agree with you to a certain extent, but If he had 3 years left in his contract, I would totally agree. Totally agree. But because he's got a year left in his contract, because he's such a big asset, and if he does go on a free next year, it's just basically delaying the inevitable if he's not going to sign that contract.
If he goes on a free. Not,
if. I know it's a big if. I do know it's a big if.
It's all ifs and buts. Look, this saga is going to continue on. Ben, we could sit here all evening and have a back and forth on this. We really could. You know me, I could speak about Harry Kane for 24 hours. But
you could just speak about his hair for 24 hours.
Exactly. That's just what jelly uses, the hair follicles, etc. That's not even gone into the rest of Harry Kane. But look, the money that Bayern Munich has put in hasn't even been enough to buy the right lace out of his right boot. So until that right money comes along, there's no conversation to be had as far as I'm concerned. Look, Kane will be back tomorrow. I'm pretty sure we'll know a lot of the intentions there. So tomorrow is D-Day in the Harry Kane saga.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Mickey van der Ven now. In happier news, David Heitner saying that Spurs are confident of completing a deal for Mickey van der Ven. I'm hoping that we're going to see something gather pace tomorrow because Spurs do travel out to Australia on Friday. So do you think he'll be on that plane on Friday?
100%, every one of them on the plane. Van der Ven is the one that's more advanced in being lined up with sort of price and contract and everything being agreed. I do think the club is still trying to get Tapsoba because I do think that'd be the preferred option in an ideal world. I'd say I'd bring in both. However, Tottenham haven't even negotiated a fee for Tapsoba, so that'll probably rumble on for another week or two, which will put it past the date of us flying out to Australia. So I think Van der Ven will get done this week. It'd be such bad PR to let what we've got there in the back line go out to Australia without any sort of new signings, considering it's the first area everybody wanted sorted out coming into this summer anyway. So, yeah, I think Van der Ven will come in. I really like Van der Ven, Benny. When I look at him, the way he moves on the ball and stuff, he reminds me a lot of Jan Vertonghen, the way he defends. Doesn't really go to ground. He sort of stands up, be strong, get in and stuff like that. A bit different to Romero in that regard. One thing I will say is, though, for a 6'4" guy, he doesn't like contesting a lot of aerial duels, which is a bit, he's not going to get away with that in the Premier League. So he will have to work on that. He will have to, look to become more stronger in that sort of area because it's also a part that we have to improve in overall in general. Set pieces into the box. It's been a massive problem since Jose Mourinho where I just give up when set pieces go into the box because the opposition always win it. They always get a shot off on goal or get a breaking ball. We never are the first ones to clear it. So he does have to prove in that regard. But another thing is his pace. Look how much Kyle Walker has got Man City out of trouble at times with that blistering pace. We can also use Van der Ven for that as well. And if Liverpool were looking at him, and the only reason why sort of Liverpool have pulled out is because they think maybe that jump is too soon. But if someone like Liverpool are looking at and look what they've done with Robertson, etc., for me, I think definitely get this guy in. Ange Postecoglou will work with him. What Ange will like most about him is how good he is on the ball. And it fits into Ange's system. So let's go. Van der Tongen. Happy days.
Look, I think it's going to be an absolutely sensational signing, but I do think at 22 years of age to come into the Premier League, it's going to take a bedding in period. So I think if people think that he's going to come in, hit the ground running and be this top centre-back straight away, I think they got another thing coming. But I think, you need to give this guy patience, need to give this guy time, and most importantly, you need to give this guy your support because this guy can be one of the leading centre-backs in the Premier League in a few years' time if we really give him the right development. But what you're saying about his aerial ability for such a tall guy, do you think that's maybe as well, it doesn't show up on the stats too much, maybe because a lot of football is played on the ground in the Bundesliga and maybe he didn't have to contest too much in the air? Or have you seen highlights of him not really being too good in the air?
But no, look, there's definitely that. A lot of the football in the Bundesliga is on the ground, and some of it may have to do that. He played in a back tree for a couple of games on the left-hand side of that tree as well. But look, you don't go through any football match without having to contest at least a couple of headers. I mean, when I watch reels of Tapsoba and stuff like that and everything else, you see how good Tapsoba's in the air. You watch reels of Van der Ven, you will struggle to find one where he's competing in the air. And he has been known at times to sort of let the ball bounce and then try and play out and stuff like that. So I think it's more so that he's just not confident in the air. But that'll come. And I agree with you, Ben. Like, he's not going to come in and hit the ground running, but with a bit of patience, a bit of time and being nurtured, he will become one of the best defenders in the Premier League. Absolutely spot on. But that's why I think it's even more crucial for us to get someone like Tapsoba in because he is ready to go, hit the ground running, got all the ability across all aspects of the game, body on the line, can play, good in the air. You know, if people actually check out his stats, they're very, very similar to Gavardio, but for half the price. So, you know, it's very important that even though we bring in Van de Ven, we don't stop there, and we also bring in someone like Tapsoba to follow it up.
Absolutely. So hold on tight, because I think another signing is potentially going to come before the preseason tour. But let's finish off talking about Manor Solomon. I want to get your opinion on him, because you haven't got your opinion on the latest signing as of yet. But David Heitner says that Spurs will pay compensation to Shakhtar for Manor Solomon, but it's understood that the bulk of it will be provided by FIFA. So another one, Daniel Levy has got a nice win on.
Yeah, look, it suits Daniel Levy. I even said on my own thing earlier on that if there was a fee, a massive fee involved, or a 20 million, 30 million transfer fee, I don't think we would have signed Manor Solomon. It's more opportunistic. We took advantage of FIFA's ruling in May that any player inside Russia and Ukraine, they can sort of terminate the contract for another year. So with Manor Solomon doing that, his contract is up in December anyway. So that effectively makes him out of contract. But Shakhtar, you know, like they said, they can't keep losing their players for free, so they do need money. And it's about right that FIFA sort most of that out, because, you know, with Solomon is effectively out of contract. But Ben, you know what? I like Manor Solomon. I do. You know, people that maybe haven't done research into him, they'd be like, look, he didn't really show up until the end of the season, this, that, and the other. But when you go in and do the research, he was injured up until 2023 anyway. He didn't come back until January. He played the opening weekend game, and then he got an injury in the behind closed doors friendly and was out up until January anyway. But from January, he's shown glimpses. You know, we had 5 games on the trot with scoring goals. He was put up there for Player of the Month alongside Emerson, and ended up losing out to Marcus Rashford. And he's very, very similar to Son in some degrees, where he likes to get on the ball, cut inside, and have a shot. And not only did he do that at Fulham, but he also done it at Shakhtar. If people go back and watch Shakhtar v Real Madrid, he was heavily involved in them victories as well, when they'd done them twice in the group stage that time. So I really like Solomon. And another trait that he does, he likes to drop deep and get on the ball, which then opens up the play in front of him. Now, don't get me wrong, he's not the finished article. He still has a lot of work to do. He needs to add more goals, more assists, and just be a bit more consistent overall. But with the likes of Son going off to the Asian Games in January, February, Lucas Moura left at the end of the season, Danjuma went without sort of, you know, taking up the option on him. We do need another one or two players in that area. And for me, I think this might be a little bit better than maybe what other people anticipate. Because let's be honest, Ben, I haven't seen a stir around the fan base for the Manor Solomon today. In fact, I think it's been very, very quiet compared to the signings of Vicario, even Kulu and Madison. So, you know, I don't think many people are expecting a lot out of this guy.
You know why I think it is as well, is because after the signing, who was the last signing? It was it Madison, the last signing? Yeah, it was after Madison. It was such a big signing, Madison. And everyone was saying after that, centre-backs coming in next, centre-backs coming in next. And then you get a Manor Solomon on a free when everyone is just dying for a centre-back or two to come through the door. So I think that has a bit to play on it as well. But I agree. I'm excited about Manor Solomon. He brings you direct running. He's super fast. He's tricky. He's hot to handle. So I think the fans, once they get a glimpse of him, I think they'll really... He's a player that will get bums off seats, essentially, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So I'm excited to see him. And him being Israeli doesn't harm his cause as well in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So that's Manor Solomon. That is your Tottenham update today. I want to thank Dave from the Irish Hotspur for coming on today. Do go over and subscribe on his channel. Any good shows coming up this week?
To be honest with you, Ben, I don't really have a plan this week. I'm sort of just going to make it up as it unfolds this week. But next week, we're sort of back into it full time. Lots of stuff coming your way. And, you know, you'll see the WeAreTottenhamTV boys on out there throughout the season. So another reason to smash the subscribe button. But sorry I kept you here for so long. I know these updates aren't supposed to go that long, Ben. But I can't shut up. I have a lot to say. So I apologize. But thanks for having me.
It's great sharing the screen with you one more time, Dave. And you'll see us collab together throughout the season, which is going to be good fun. So thank you, Dave, for coming on. Go and subscribe to his channel. Hit that subscribe button here on We Are Tottenham TV as well. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Spurs.